Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Russell, Amber, and Russell. Subscribe to the show at the top. Make sure you guys thumbs up this video. Leave a comment, share with your friends, and make sure you guys watch previews from the Amber Russell channel. So, the past couple of weeks, we already know what's going on. Um, Michael Brown case. So, if you guys haven't heard, which I doubt you guys haven't, there's this kid who was walking the street with his friend, and something happens. So the cop tells him to walk, get out the street, and then the kid ends up dead. That's the pretty much the basic of the case, basic info that we have about the case. There's two different stories from one from the cop and one from the friend, and it happened in Ferguson, Missouri, and a lot of stuff has escalated in this town. There's been riots. The police are coming out in combat, but when during peaceful rallies, people are having marches. People are getting arrested, and I just gotta say, here's how I sum this whole incident up. First and foremost, the news, from what I'm hearing, is only showing the bad that's going on there to try and do whatever they want to portray this case. And it sucks because there's so many people who are going to be naive to the fact that there are dozens and much more peaceful rallies going on out there in Ferguson than there are the riots. And it just saddens me and sickens me that other day there was people from New York and California that were getting arrested for looting. So it's like you have these people who are looting who are outside. They're not even a part of this town. They're just there just to be looters. And they're asking should they do the protest at night and during the day rather and have a curfew. It's like there's not going to be any difference because these same people are going to come out there. And so first and foremost, people cannot destroy your own neighborhoods regardless of what's going on. That does not help the situation at hand. This shows them, make us as blacks, as minorities, as aggressive people who don't know how, make words out of their anger and make it into actual conversation. Even though those aren't the people who are protesting, that's what the media wants to portray as the protesters. So, people who are out there looting, please stop. You don't need to get no. You guys are stealing weaves and Jordans just because of this whole incident, and it's making the people who are actually out there for good look bad because the media is going to show it as the news and all that stuff is going to show it as all as one collective group as opposed to separate individuals. Now, these cops, they come in and they have on these armor and they have the ammo and these guns, and it's like these people are having peaceful protests, and it just makes me reminisce of the 60s when Martin Luther King and the civil rights movements, when people were out there just marching, just walking, and they got sprayed with hose and they got dog sicked on them. And to me, it just feels as though it's very similar to that. And these people are out there peacefully marching, and then they're getting arrested. They just arrested a 90-year-old woman, white woman at that. They're arresting everybody. They're arresting people from Huffington Post. They threw a tear gas thing. This guy ends up getting burnt in the face. And they're just really being very aggressive out there. The cops are for no apparent reason, and yet they won't help the people who are getting robbed by the looters. So you got these aggressive ass cops. We didn't find out the policeman's name until days after. Wednesday, we found out that he supposedly got injured in the face. It took them from Saturday rather, where this kid who got shot 6 times, we found out recently, at least 6 times at that. He got shot at least 6 times. Body sat there on the ground for 4 hours while his cop had to go to the hospital because he had some head injuries. His face was swollen. We found that out days after. They didn't want to release his name. And when they did release his name, they later released a video of Michael Brown supposedly being the suspect at a robbery. And to me, it just felt as though it's funny because me and my coworker were talking, and he said, "Watch, they're going to try to make the friend look like a criminal somehow," and yet they're making the victim look like a criminal. How many times have we seen our black people become the criminal when they are the victim? How many times have we seen them say, "Oh, this person is a thug. They were aggressive. They're angry," but yet every single time a white person is arrested for something, is the criminal, is the one in the wrong, they make them seem like a sweet person. He was an innocent misfit. He was a wise genius who just went down the wrong path. How many times have we seen the guy that shot the movie theaters during Batman is still alive, but yet this poor black innocent hands up in the air, regardless of what happened, he had no gun on him. He got shot 6 times, twice in the head, one in the top, one in the eyes, I guess, from what the image shows. And then the police aren't even answering any questions. They send in this black ship chief to talk to everyone. The only reason why they chose him was because he's black. I mean, he's gonna probably feel more personal with the situation at hand because he has a son. He's dealt with stuff like that. His son's probably gonna deal with things like this. But to me, it just feels though they only chose him to be a nice little buffer. And I feel though the cops are hiding a whole lot because they're taking their time with doing the autopsy, releasing that. The parents had to do their own autopsy. They had to get an outside source. They don't know anything about the clothes because the clothes the police have, the crime scene the police have. So it just feels as though it's all strategic for the cops to try and fight this case when it feels as though they were in the wrong. And I really just feel as though I understand why these people might want to rise up and fight back because the cops are here not to fight us, they're here to protect us. And as a black male walking down the street and get heads breaking their necks just to see what I'm doing, and I'm doing nothing wrong, and yet you go up to the suburbs and you see these kids doing coke and they're doing these hardcore drugs. You have these guys in these business suits cheating the system, stealing millions from the public, and yet they get away with it, or they get a nice little slap on the wrist and say, don't do that, boys will be boys. But as blacks, crack, for instance, same thing as cocaine, and yet you go to jail for, it used to be a worse crime. Blacks usually use crack, whites normally use coke. And yet cocaine is just as bad as crack, and yet there's a harsher time for crack, a black drug. But cocaine, you go to jail for having more of it for a lesser time. So you got more cocaine and go to jail for less time for having half as much crack and go to jail for twice as long. The system has failed us again, and it's just sad to continue to see young black men having to deal with this type of things. And there's people saying whatever they want to say, but you can't sit here and try and say that there's something not going on wrong here. When we see every week there's a new video posted of a cop going overboard with aggressiveness and trying to take down someone regardless of their black, white, male, female, whatever, in between, individual, whatever. It's come way too often we see these videos on a weekly, daily basis. And there has to be a change within the system, especially with cops. And the sad part is, why is it that a cop's word is worth more than a regular citizen's word? If that's the case, then what's the point of even having the court system if their word's going to be held higher up than the average citizen when they are the ones who are working for us to protect us? And another cop said that they use cameras in their place, and some cops say, oh, it costs too much. The lawsuits and the law crimes, the lawsuits are going to add up to more cost than having the camera. Camera is a great idea. Those cops who don't want to have cameras are the ones doing bad. Russell Van Russell, subscribe to the show at the top. If you guys thumbs the video, leave a comment at the bottom about what's going on in Ferguson, Missouri. Peace.